Welcome, everyone, to the After the Gate podcast, your number one source for authentic stories, interviews, and educational content surrounding the justice system, incarceration, and more. Come along with us now as we give you a glimpse before and after the gate.
All right, yo, it's another episode of After the Gate. Today we have a special guest. His name is Jordan Wilson. Jordan, why don't you tell us your age and your location?
I'm 34 years old, and I'm from Western Kentucky.
So what is the crime that sent you to prison, and how long were you in there for?
I got busted for trafficking in synthetic drugs and possession of anabolic steroids. I was sentenced to a year, served 3 months, and then had to do long-term rehab.
Very nice, very nice. So, Jordan, I was going to ask you, with the prison sentence that came to you, was it something that led up from childhood that, like, you saw yourself kind of going down that path? Or can you give us just a little brief description of, like, what childhood was like and what led you to that point of prison?
I was a good kid, man. I was a good kid. I can't blame anything on my upbringing. Parents stayed together until me and my older brother were grown men, had us in sports, but I was always a real hyper kid, right? Like I always wanted to touch what was hot, go where I couldn't, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so that curiosity, man, led me to pretty heavy partying in my teenage years. I I wasn't allowed to drink. I wasn't allowed to smoke. I wasn't allowed to watch R-rated movies, right? And when I get 16, 17, I'm like chasing all of that. And, they say that people are kind of almost prone to be addicts or they're not. And so the first time that I got drunk, man, I loved that feeling. The first time that I got high smoking weed, I loved that feeling. The first time I ate a few pain pills, I loved that feeling. And I always chased that feeling. But the thing is I was pretty well known in my small town. I was an athlete. I was, juicing. I was muscular, come from a good family that went to church. I thought that, I'll never be a drug addict, right? Like, it can't happen to me. I'm invincible. I'll stop when I want. I just don't want to stop. I'm the party guy. I like having fun. People love me when I'm drunk, So I didn't know that I was becoming a drug addict while I was becoming a drug addict. You can call it ignorance, I guess, I didn't know the science behind it. And there is a science behind drugs, narcotics, and alcohol. I didn't know that. My first real addiction was pain pills, right? Like I was drinking all the time, smoking all the time, and of course doing steroids. But once the pain pills started, like that took on a whole nother life. And I didn't know the chemicals in these little pills, man, would react to my brain in a certain way that if I took them day in, day out, like I was, recreational even, that they were attaching themselves to me in such a way that I couldn't stop. And so I was just an idiot, man. And I had them all the time. I was partying all the time. So I was taking them every single day, not knowing how dangerous it was for me. And after a few months of daily use, I became addicted. And so geez, man, that's what led to the lifestyle, the criminal activity, to where it's like, it's not partying anymore. Now it's all criminal,
Yeah. Was that a major shock for your parents to see, or had they experienced, like, did you have any brothers, cousins who had been involved in the justice system?
No, I was the first person in my whole family, right? Like my grandfather was a police officer, right? Like, yeah, man, like I was the first one. Now don't get me wrong. Like, I come from a family of, the men in my family are tough guys, right? Like, but they, they'll fight, and they'll stand up for what's right, but they don't do anything criminal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so once I started getting in trouble, because the first time I got in trouble, I was 19 years old and I did a hit and run, right? Like I was just 19. I didn't know that it was a felony, right? It was a little fender bender. I took off, went to jail. It was kind of small potatoes at the time, but then I got a DUI and then I got another DUI, and then and then I get busted for the drugs, right? So I was the first person in the family, I think, to ever get arrested, but I was certainly the first person in the family to live like this criminal lifestyle, which was like, like, oh, like it hit the papers, right? It was a big bust when I was busted, because it was a fairly large operation at the time, and so like it devastated my family, right?
Yeah. So I have a question in terms of like having your family with good reputation, right, in town. Did that have any pull in terms of like, hey, look, he's just, maybe a lost kid or just someone with these bad intentions at the moment? Like, did that have any pull?
I think it did. I only served 3 months out of a year sentence, but at the same time, all right. So the drug that I was selling is called Spice. I'm not sure if you heard of it, but it was relatively new at the time, right? Like, it first came out, it was legal, right? People were selling at head shops, gas stations,
I remember.
and it was supposed to be like a marijuana kind of a buzz, but then it quickly, the chemicals changed and the buzz changed, and then there were laws against it, and so me and another person started manufacturing the drug, right? It's no longer for sale in stores. It's no longer a marijuana buzz. It's more like an acid trip. And so it was a hot item. People were becoming addicted to it. So we started manufacturing the drug. So when I was busted, of course, I got a defense attorney. And he told me, he's like, because he was from another town, he was like, dude, if this would have happened in my town, he said, you would have got probation. You're a first-time drug offender. He said, so I think that they're really just trying to make an example out of you because this drug is so hot, right? It's so new. So that's why I had to do the 3 months and then long-term rehab after that. So
were they trying to scare you with prison time for that?
And they actually, they wanted me to work with them, right? And I just couldn't do it, like I couldn't do it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because me and the person that I was, all right, so I was kind of like the right-hand dude working for the big dude, right? He was the steroid dealer in town. He was the manufacturer of the spice, but I was in on it with them. And they wanted me to, they already knew his name. They came in, they were like, look, we know this dude. We know you're doing it with him, you don't have to serve a day in jail. And I just couldn't do it, man.
Wow.
I ain't trying to die.
Yeah. I don't want that trouble that comes with it.
No way, dude. And so I served my time, but I could have gotten out of it, but I just, whatever. And it's okay though, right? Like, I was optimistic about serving my time, and it's what started my recovery process. I even wrote a book about it. So,
yeah. It's crazy that you mentioned that with just with the synthetic drug, because we have a town about 20 minutes from us where it was so prevalent, where it was like you said, they were making examples of people over on this side too, with just that were manufacturing or involved, being caught with it. It's crazy how just one certain chemical can just take over communities, take over things at a time. And it's crazy that it's cool that you only had to experience that little amount to start your recovery,
Right. Yeah. Now don't get me wrong. I failed the first rehab, right? Like I made it in their program 4 months and relapsed, because I was addicted to pain pills. I was smoking spice all the time, I wouldn't necessarily say I was addicted, but I did it all the time. But I was addicted to pain pills and crystal meth, right? I just had that addictive personality, right? Like I can't do one thing, right? Or I'm going to take it to the limit. So I relapsed and they kicked me out and I had to go back to jail, right? So this process, man, of jail and rehab and homelessness, because it just happened. It just lasted for years. Until I finally surrendered. So
So Jordan, I have a question for you. Tell me about the moment when you decided it was time to be sober and that you were completely done with that lifestyle. Like, what was going through your head, and what was that final straw that made it happen?
All right. So I believe in God, right? I was raised in church, right? But when I was like, a teenager and stuff, I kind of stopped believing. I thought, maybe I'm just indoctrinated, right? Like I believe in God because my parents told me to, because their parents told them to. And so I kind of stopped believing. But a couple of times during my addiction, man, I had some miracle moments, right, where God showed up in my life. And 2 weeks before I got clean, man, 2 weeks before I got clean, I was at the peak of my addiction, strung out on crystal meth. This dude owed me about $400 or $500. I fronted him some drugs to sell. He acted like he wasn't going to pay. So I was literally 2 minutes away from killing this man, straight up. It's 4 a.m. I'm in a rage. I'm at a red light, and I'm telling you, I am less than a mile from this man's house. I'm going to go kick in his door, and I'm going to take him out. Still dark outside, and my phone rings while I'm waiting on this light to turn green. And I look down, it's my dad calling me. And my first thought is, oh my gosh, who's hurt, right? Because it's 4 a.m. You should be asleep. You know, you shouldn't be calling me. And so I answer the phone, and he says, son, what are you doing? I said, Pops, I'm just driving right now. He said, buddy, you are in danger. I feel it. You are in danger. You got to stop. Go home. And it tripped me out because he couldn't, I didn't make some Facebook post saying, hey, I'm on the way to murder this dude. He couldn't have known that, man. God woke my dad up in the middle of a cold sleep and warned me. So that tripped me out. And 2 weeks later, he invited me to church, right?
Oh, wow.
It was Easter Sunday. The lady I was staying with just kicked me out and had anywhere to go. So I crashed at my mom's. My dad heard that I was at my mom's house and was like, hey, man, come to church with me on Sunday for Easter. I said, Dad, I'm detoxing, man. I can't do it. And he said, well, buddy, Sunday's my birthday. Will you come to church with me for my birthday? I was like, dang. Because I was 27 years old at the time. I didn't have a birthday gift from my dad, right? Talk about feeling like a piece of crap. I was like, all right, for your birthday, I will go. And I did, man. I went to church with my dad, and the pastor was like, if anybody's been running from God, if you've been living without purpose, man, come down to this altar and give your life to Jesus. And so I did. It was almost like an out-of-body experience. It's like I couldn't stop myself from standing up and running down to that altar. But I did that day. It was March 27th, 2016. And I committed my life to following Jesus that day. And I never picked up a drink or a drug since that day. I had this mind change. I had this heart change, this worldview change. And so that was my sober date, man. That was the day I got saved. But I also had to do rehab, right? Because I didn't know how to be a man. I had to detox. I had to learn how to work because it had been so long since I worked. I had to learn how to deal with my emotions because my answer was using. So I went to a drug rehab, man, and graduated that program, worked on my schooling, my career. And so I've been working in drug rehab ever since. And I'm approaching 7 years of sobriety.
Yeah, congrats, brother. Congrats,
Thanks,
man.
man.
That's cool.
Thank you.
With what you just said, it just blew my mind, Jordan. I'm a firm believer in God, and it blows my mind to think. It doesn't blow my mind, but it's cool to hear your story that your dad woke up, and I'm a firm believer too, man. I don't think your dad called at 4 a.m. because that was that intuition, however it was put on that changed your life trajectory at that one minute that he called. You didn't have to pick up either, you know.
I know.
Most of the time we don't. If in back in the day, if our parents were calling, we're not picking up at 4 a.m. It's like I'll call in the morning. I'll handle whatever I'm doing now, or I'll handle in the morning. It's like that's a blessing, bro. It's a blessing.
I'll never be able to deny God now, right?
Yeah.
I don't have any excuse for me not to believe in God. Because I'm telling you guys, man, I was less than a mile away from this man's house, and I was going to do one thing. So there were two outcomes for me that night: prison for life because I did the thing, or I was going to die. And I kid you not, I probably would have died, right? Because people don't get high by themselves. So I'm so thankful, man. I'm thankful that I got a dad that was looking out for me, a God that was looking out for me. And so I'll never be the same, man.
That's your circle, bro. Keep them close.
Yeah, for sure.
At all times, man. So Jordan, with after you got done with your rehab, after you got saved and things started going well for your life, was there any repercussions of that criminal lifestyle that you still dealt with? Like with a lot of the time when people are coming out of prison after 6 years, it's like, man, I have a problem with the job, with clothing, shelter, with even just the way people treat me. Was that something you experienced?
Yeah. When I first got to rehab, man, I couldn't find a job anywhere because of my charges. People didn't like a caught drug dealer. I couldn't even get a job as a cook at Cracker Barrel, right? So it was tough, man. Like I I was living without this purpose, right? Like I couldn't get a job. I felt, I just felt defeated, and that's, and so when I got kicked out of rehab, for using, I just gave up on trying. I gave up on trying to be successful or trying to be clean. And so those things happen. But what's cool, man, is God has given me a purpose now with what I'm doing, right? Like I've got a job now to where people with master's degrees are trying to get, right?
Yeah.
I'm the development director of a drug rehab. I'm also a youth pastor, I'm a published author, and so like all of these things have happened, but they've happened out of the mess, right? Like God's able to use that mess and give me a purpose through it. So it's really dope.
Yeah.
I always tell this to people that people who've had hard paths that, if they really buckle down and do what they need to do, that they can come out better than they would have if they didn't have that past. It sometimes makes you better and sharper. And
it's that advantage. Yeah.
It's an advantage, I feel like.
Absolutely.
And I
my
think
goal
personally, I've done that, felt that way.
Yeah. My goal, man, before I gave my life to Jesus was I'm going to graduate this little rehab and maybe work in the coal mines, right? Or, a factory job, like kind of just do something that I don't care about, right? Just to make ends meet. But now I'm doing something I'm very passionate about. So that's, it's really wonderful.
Yeah. That I think I love when people, I always tell people too, with ex-cons or anybody involved in this type of stuff, that it's, if you're going to choose, if you're looking for a goal or a career that's going to last, find something that has passion behind it, because it's not going to burn out and you're not going to worry about the financial side. You're going to worry about helping because you have that passion that fuels it, and, find that, navigate it, whatever it may be, social media, the church, helping out in the community, justice reform. I feel like there's a lot of people that are innocent in prison too, that don't even have a voice, that we can reach back to and help. Are you with Jordan with you said all these different things that you're doing now? Is there anything that you're doing now currently, or that you're looking to do with, like, let's say reentry with people coming from treatment facilities or jails? Is there any like resources that you're currently working on or have in place?
Yeah. So about 8 months ago, I felt God tell me I was supposed to donate my book to every jail and prison and juvenile detention center in the United States. And I was like, oh my gosh, man, like I'm not rich, right? I'm not famous. I don't know how to do this. But God gave me this goal, man. So I started talking to people about it, promoted it on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And man, people started donating from every state. We started ordering the books. And I'm telling you, man, from the conception of the idea to the completion of the task, it took 5 months. My book is now in every single jail and prison in the United States of America. So
that's amazing. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, these dudes are, and women, they're getting hope, right? They're hearing my story, because I'm telling you guys, man, I was a junkie, needle using, hopeless, depressed, suicidal. And now I'm free and I have all the hope in the world and joy and a family and a career. And so I'm just trying to give these people hope, man. And I get letters from inmates all the time. And it started all of these speaking engagements. I was just at a juvenile detention center in Chicago 2 weeks ago, talking to little gang members, man.
Yes, and, dude, I love it. Man,
it's so cool. Like even the COs were saying, man, these kids don't pay attention like they did with you. Like you locked them in. And so it's so beautiful. And I've got all of these other speaking engagements that are happening. It was never even the plan, right? I wasn't planning on doing anything with it. I was just trying to be obedient, but it has turned into all of these engagements, man, where I can go inside as the man I am today and shine a light. So it's really cool, man.
It's bringing that purpose and hope that you speak of, bro.
Yeah, straight up.
It is to people who need it the most. I think too, with that says something with people nowadays, with this generation that's stuck on phones or stuck on certain things, that just everything in the world, when they listen to somebody like you that's been through something, I think it resonates so much longer, and they're like, look at this guy, he has it's something I'd like to be, and I don't have to go through what he went through or be a part of it, or that's cool, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I go if I'm invited, I go, right? If I can, I've got a family and 2 jobs, but I mean, middle schools, high schools, colleges, jails, churches, you name it. If I can go, I'm gonna go, man.
Yeah.
I think it's important for people like us and you, Jordan, to reach out to people because, like Alex was saying, like they look up to people like us and they trust us because they see we're like them.
Yeah. They see
and
what
they
it's like.
see that they could be like us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I hope to our message to get out to people. And for them to see that.
Yeah. The grass
That's really
is
cool you
greener.
do that.
The grass is much greener on this side of the fence, bro.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you too, Jordan. So I just wanted to ask, like, could you tell everybody what's life like for you now? You said you have a family. What's what is all that moving forward in these next couple of years? I know it's hard to plan, like you said, with you plan it out and it seems like God has different plans for most things, but what's on your sights?
So yeah, man, I met my wife when I was 2 years clean. We got married in 6 months. I've got 2 kids, almost a 4-year-old and almost a 2-year-old. So when I'm not working, I'm working. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
like
stay
that.
busy, man. But I actually, I was at an event last year in Florida, and this person, the CEO of this organization, just couldn't get me out of their head. They heard my testimony, so they flew us down, and I spoke at their event. And I met a film producer named Michael Geyer out of Los Angeles. He owns Geyer Productions, and he read my book, and he's like, "Dude, I want to turn it into a film." So that is hopefully going to happen. The funds have to get raised. I don't know how that's going to happen, but you know what? God made a way for my book to get out there. So I believe he'll make a way for the movie to get out there too. So that's the goal, man, is in the next 5 years to see that happen. We also started a nonprofit. Well, the paperwork's been filed, so we're not an official nonprofit, but it's called Jesus Ministries. We've got a website called jesusisgreaterthan.org. Basically, on the website, you can book me to come and speak at your event. You can buy a book or a T-shirt. But the nonprofit right now is hopefully just going to bring in the funds for me to travel speaking, so that we don't have to pay for it. Because we're just regular worker. Regular people. So to help me travel to these jails and prisons and churches in and out of the U.S. And then hopefully one day to start our own recovery program.
Yeah. I feel you fit right in that avenue of being able to be the most resourceful person for that. People coming in your area or outside that area to tap in. That's cool.
Thank you.
Super
man.
cool. And and everybody's got that story, just like how everybody that's been listening to this has loved to hear your story, man. Just if it was put into film, I think people would eat it up. I think it would be a million more eyes that can benefit,
Yeah, thank you, man. I'll send you guys a copy. We'll talk later, but I'd love to send you guys a couple books.
Yeah. For everybody that's watching the podcast right now, in the description below, we'll put all of Jordan's links, website. Everybody check it out. Everything he's been talking about, you can check out in the description below. And Jordan, it's been an honor being able to sit down and speak with you, bro. It's your story speaks volumes, bro, and I think the world needs to hear it. Seriously.
Thank you, man. I've enjoyed this. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Well, we hope you have a blessed day, and I'll connect with you on the outside and everything. So.
All right, man. Appreciate you guys.